So the recent National Association of Realtors, or NAR, settlement has completely rewritten how real estate is sold throughout the country. And it pushes many companies and agents to the verge of destruction. But the group that really got affected were the group of attorneys on the winning side. It's unbelievable how much money these guys make for what they did. We're gonna get into the details on that. I'm Bill Gross. This is my weekly real estate market update, and we're gonna go over the news as well as the details on the NAR settlement for the attorneys. Before we get into that though, it's always great to set the table as to where we are in the economy right now as far as the real estate. In an economy, there's two factors. There's demand and supply. Demand is driven in real estate by interest rates and supply by inventory. Let's take a look at those to start our analysis. Interest rates finished the week about the same as they were last week, about 6.15%. These are lows basically for the last year and a half and are sufficiently low to drive more buyers in the market. Now keep in mind, it's not that everybody who doesn't have a house is a buyer. It's there are plenty of people who are making money and have good jobs even in a slower economy. We're going to talk about why the interest rate news was so bullish when it seemed that the rates are the same as they were basically last week, but they basically are the same as they were last week. Now on the inventory side, as far as the supply, again, we continue this pattern we've had all for years of declining inventory. And you can see this year it's declining while this time last year inventory was rising up. So they're going to meet somewhere towards the end of the year. But either way, this is substantially below by historic standards. The pre-COVID period, the only years below this level other than last year, which has come an odd year still, are the COVID years. So we have historic low inventory of about 600,000 units where we always had about 800,000 or more units available for sale at any time. And as long as we have low inventory, housing prices cannot crash unless something changes, we go to war, something substantial like that. So again, all the concerns that maybe buyers have falsely about where's the market headed, at the end of the day, the market is not moving too quickly in any direction, seems to still be where we're at. Locally in Los Angeles, I use Altos Research as a great resource. Our markets are 37, which is a slight seller's market if you look at this temperature gauge. Same as last week. We've been going down from 42 to 41 to 40 to 39 to 37, moving towards an equilibrium, but still in LA, we still are basically a seller's market. And I see that most listings have more buyers interested than we have sellers. Now let's get into the NAR settlement. This week, we saw the attorneys, the blood-sucking leeches that represent the plaintiffs, who pulled off this magic trick of basically, I think, falsifying or faking an industry as being the bad guy so they can get paid a lot of money. And they, of course, as contingency attorneys, are looking for a third of the settlement, which is $226 million to the attorneys of the $707,000 proposed settlement. Now, what's interesting is, on top of that money that these blood-sucking leeches are asking for, they're also asking for reimbursement of expenses of about, I think, 10 or 12 million dollars, $16 million of money they put out. So it's not enough to get a third of the settlement, or they get half as much as the plaintiffs get on the winning side. If you think of a third as 1 to 3 shares, and the plaintiffs get 2 shares, they get half as much as the plaintiffs who were frauded, that they're defending, that they're helping, right? It's a joke. And so on top of that, though, they want to say, well, we put out of our pocket over all this time $16 million. So we go through the settlement request in detail. I just find it fascinating. So for example, the lead attorney spent 7,000 hours. Now, an average person, 40-hour work week, 50 weeks a year, in round numbers is 2,000 hours. So he's claiming to spend about 2.5 years full-time of the last five or so years on this case. Basically, that's all he's done. And so he's billing at $1,450 an hour, 15 hours. So that equates on about 2,000 hour annual rate. Of that alone is about $2.9 million that he's asking for an annual salary on top of his cut of the contingency fee, right? Most people, when they meet with an attorney and have a contingency, understand that the attorney is going to get 30% or 33% or 25% of what's settled. In this case, they're going to get half as much as the plaintiffs get. But on top of that, this guy wants to get retroactively paid the equivalent of about $2.9 million. Now, he's at the highest rate. There's another attorney who has the audacity, this other blood-sucking leech, Mark Seltzer, is asking for $2,200 per hour. So he's going to get paid at a rate of about $4.4 million. Now, lest you say, well, that sounds like, low pay for an NFL quarterback. Keep in mind, they're still getting their cut of the $200-something million contingency fee. So that's on top of that. They're asking for that. And what's fascinating when you go through it, here's an interesting factoid. Paralegals, not attorneys, didn't go to law school, not members of the bar. In Missouri, you would think is a lower price market than California, $300 an hour is what they get paid from this firm. Partners get paid $12.50 an hour. I found that fascinating. And associates, though, only get $600 an hour. So you have associates who theoretically are members of the bar, able to do legal work. They get $600, yet the lead attorney bills out at over twice that at $1,450. Now, I know to judges, attorneys, that seems reasonable. To most human beings, that's outrageous in a case where they're calling the commissions. The average realtor gross is less than $40,000 a year. Most people think those attorneys' fees are ridiculous. But the attorneys, they look at that and go, well, that looks reasonable on top of the $226 million settlement that they are splitting up amongst themselves. So I don't know, to me, that seems like an awful lot. Now, in justifying this, if you go through the filings, and this is the actual filing that they put forward in the case, I went through in detail, they say, well, it was a difficult case because the defense, imagine this, filed lots of motions. Who would have thought that when you sue somebody for $1 billion was the initial ask, that they would file motions and it would be hard work? These poor guys, I read this and I just started crying. And then, of course, they also say that they need to charge this money on top of this contingency because they were never guaranteed to win. Well, that sounds like the realtors they're suing. The average sale in America in the last couple years, for every offer accepted, there were not. 1 in 5 got accepted. Well, that means 4 to 5 realtors didn't get paid for writing an offer on the property. Not only that, you average about 8 showings per offer. So what that means is for every offer accepted, about 40 showings are done by realtors who don't get paid a penny and drive and pay for their gas and their pagers and their phones and their marketing materials and business cards and licensing fees and all that. They get paid nothing to sell that. And these guys are getting paid $14.50 an hour and on top of a cut of $200 million to say, well, our work is hard and we don't necessarily get paid, but we're going to sue the realtors because they conspired. Every realtor in America conspired together and these guys caught us. I don't know, the whole thing. Remember, this lawsuit is one court case in one city, St. Louis, Missouri, with one judge, one jury, a very talented class action attorney law firm who put this whole thing together. The whole thing is just, I think, preposterous. The other thing is that they're basically stating when you read through this that every single seller is a potential plaintiff. Now let me show you this. This is the postcard. If you sold a home and paid a commission to real estate agents, make it a little bigger, you may be part of a class action settlement. Well, in fact, you are, because their contention is every single seller, even those that signed a listing agreement that says we're going to pay the buyer's agent, here's the amount, they were all fooled. Oh, I didn't know. I signed it without reading the paperwork. It's so funny. Attorneys love those lawsuits. The customer didn't read the paperwork, and of course, their whole business is about paperwork, and if it's not the paperwork, it doesn't count. So again, at the end of the day, these guys are getting paid millions and millions of dollars. Do you think it's fair? I'm all for people getting paid for creating value for their customers, but who in the end gets value? Yeah, I get it. If you sold a house and a attorney calls you and says, hey, you're entitled to $20,000. Of course, the attorney gets $10,000 because they're going to get a third of the total. So, of course, for every seller they find and convince their victim, they all get paid. But was there anybody in America who really thought they were being cheated by paying buyer's commissions through the listing agent? I never heard that complaint before these guys won their $226 million settlement. So again, the one thing we know about this lawsuit is those guys are going to get rich. Okay, so let's continue. We'll go back into the news. Here's some good news in real estate. Because housing values go up almost every year, last year, the average homeowner's value went up by $25,000. And that means cumulatively in America, homeowners increased their equity by $1.3 trillion. By comparison, the entire New York Stock Exchange is about $28 trillion. So that means it's just this increase in the last year is about 5% of the entire New York Stock Exchange in the pockets of homeowners. Now, of course, the majority are very wealthy people with big houses. Yeah. But I do think the average and lower price houses actually went up by more and faster by percentage. So this is a good sign that despite all the bad economic activity, the hard part of this is not everybody owns houses, and less people by percentage are owning houses in the American dream in America. But those that get on that bus are benefiting from it. And that's certainly some good news overall for those people, those of us who own houses, where it's a fantastic opportunity. One of the things I wanted to point out, news last week, you may have, no doubt you heard the news, that the Fed cut rates. You might say, well, what did the Fed do? My credit card rate didn't go down. More importantly, mortgage rates didn't go down. Here's an interesting article, this is Housing Wire, which asks the question, why did mortgage rates go up after the Fed rate cut? They went up slightly from 6.11 to 6.15 on the Fannie Mae rate. They didn't go down. And that's the thing. Who did rates go down for? Well, banks that borrow money from the Fed pay less, number one. So, the wealthy pay less on their money that they borrow, but your credit card rate didn't go down, your car loan rate didn't go down, your mortgage rate didn't go down. Nothing went down that affects average consumers. The only thing that happened, I'm going to throw my penalty flag on this. Let me pull up the penalty flag real quick. And you can buy yours too at, here it is. You can buy yours too at Amazon. I'm throwing the penalty flag because this is just nonsense. What did the Fed accomplish? Well, when the Fed cut the rates, if you look at Google, over 4 million results. It sounds like good news, doesn't it? The Fed starts cutting interest rates in a big moment for the economy. So starts as if they're going to continue, and a big moment for the economy. Oh, that sounds great. Let's celebrate. It's a big moment for me because nothing changed. Here's another article. Fed Reserve signals an end to inflation fight. Oh, inflation's over, the AP tells us. Well, not really necessarily. So what is this? So what's obviously going on is the people who are committed to reelecting our current political class, Democrats, the Biden administration, those running for reelection, the Federal Reserve people who have jobs, they're all on board with making sure everything sounds good for the next 45 days or so while ballots are being placed and collected. And so the Federal Reserve has watched rates come down over the last month or two and did not launch this change until this week, which was a politically timed week. It's after the convention, it's after the debate, not much political news, boom. And it's some fake good news because the reality is it's not indicating the market's improving. The market improved a bit on the interest rates because the economy is slowing down. We know the jobs numbers, the government's been lying to us by about 1 million jobs instead of creating 1 million. Jobs are flat. The only people with more jobs are government employees. That's not sustainable. And illegal aliens. We know that non-illegal alien employment in America, other than the government sector, is actually way down. And so this is just a way that the Federal Reserve can show they're on team Biden and team Democrat and team federal government. It's pure politics. And even if you're a Democrat, now you might say, well, that's good news. They're on our team. Good for you. But let's at least be honest, right? Let's not pretend as though there's any change in the economy coming up for Americans, because the reality is has nothing to do with it. Under bad political moves, and this is kind of like, there's a saying in Alcoholics Anonymous that the same brain that got you in the problem can't get you out. This week we have Governor Newsom signs not one, not two, but 32 bills to help end homelessness in California. 32, as if he read any of them, right? And so this is a problem in that, as I've documented in this podcast regularly, the problem is not we don't have enough government regulation in housing. The problem is we have too much government interference in building property and building the economy and taking taxes. And so here you have the government looking to take more money, put more regulations on to give housing to their favorite class of people who are low income and illegal immigrants. And that's just going to cause more problems for those of us who are here legally and those of us who pay taxes rather than get paid money. And I think in the long run is a very, very bad sign for our economy, in California in particular. Under bad marketing and advertising, if you saw last week's episode on online mortgages, I don't really think much of these companies are anonymous and hide behind websites for their service. One of those is obvious when you look at this article, but it's not. I'm going to help you find it a little bit. Here's money.com from your Money magazine. 4 signs you need a new real estate agent. So I like how everybody is attacking real estate agents. Every press, every government agency, they hate real estate agents because we're independent business people and they want everybody to be either Facebook or Google or Amazon. And so Money, which is one of those online services, 4 signs you need a new real estate agent. And I read through it and thought, well, it wasn't bad. They lack polish. I don't know. Do you need a new realtor because your realtor doesn't have polish? I don't know that I have polish. They're bad at communicating, critical. As a real estate agent, you have to communicate well. They're pushy, not good. Means they're not focused on the customer but themselves. Don't know how to negotiate. One of the most important things is negotiating. But one of the things I noticed, if you scroll down this article, there was 1 ad, 2 ads, 3 ads, and they're all for, now you have to look a little close here. It's not obvious. But if you read this fine print, or this fine print, they're all Rocket Mortgage. It's interesting how in my license, the laws are the license number can't be the smallest print, but somehow they get away with that here. I guess the MLS laws are different. But you wouldn't notice that all 3 of these ads are the same company. That's interesting. So you have Rocket Mortgage basically subsidizing an ad on why you need a realtor. So what's the solution? Well, everyone has the best rates, get yours. One of the keys is to have a good realtor. So one of the things that's deceptive also about this is, what's the thing they're promising you? View rates. View rates. The only thing with color, view rates, besides the blue line here, they have to have something that distinguishes it as an ad, is view rates. Here's what I'm going to tell you. The one thing you're not going to get on that ad is you're not going to view rates. Right here you have loan amount, California, 30-year fixed rate, and you put the button. I did this before I recorded this. I answered 12 questions before I gave up. And now it has a little rocket insight thing, so you can't even click the next button until it's done giving you some other stupid advice. Right? If I try to click it, it won't let me go through. Oh, there, I actually did this time. So if I put it there, there's 4 questions, 5 questions. Active veterans, 6 questions. So I did this before, it's about 12. Please choose one, you have to choose again because the little insight thing has to run. I read 12 questions before I gave up. So the one thing you're not going to get from Rocket Mortgage is the rates. That's the thing they promise on the ad. I mean, I don't know about you. To me, that's just false advertising. I clicked on view rates. They already knew I'm in California. They already knew it's a 30-year fixed rate. They know the loan amount. And they cannot give me the rates without at least 12 questions. And I believe, even after getting my name, address, phone number, email, address, and answering all those questions, they're going to have somebody contact me. I don't believe you actually end up at a rate sheet. Now, can you search online to find rates? Yes. Are they accurate? Well, I don't know. It depends how accurate your search is. But again, it says view rates. It doesn't say begin the questionnaire to see what you qualify for, what your rate would be. It's view rates. And again, it's not just once. View rates. And this isn't some little minor thing. They have a team of people who run tests on this all day long. The size of the button, the color of the button, should it be orange? Should it be white background? It could be white with orange coloring. This is scientifically designed by a major corporation to trick you into giving you their information, which they can use to market you forever as if that's what you want to do. And yet they're going to tell you that you need a new real estate agent. I'm going to tell Rocket Mortgage, you need a new advertising campaign. It's deceptive, it's sloppy, it's unprofessional, it's dishonest. And it's really beneath, Rocket Mortgage, I believe, is part of the Intuit, Quicken Books companies. It's beneath their corporate standard, I think. Just really disappointing. What do you think? What do you think of Rocket Mortgage? What do you think about the attorney settlement? Fair? Too much? Am I too hard on attorneys? I work with attorneys all the time. I don't work with any, I don't think they get $2,200 an hour on top of their contingency fee. But I love to see your comments. Call me, write me, text me, email me at Bill Gross Probate on social media. As always, make today your best day ever.